Now, this has been picked up on the front page of many of the newspapers this morning. Daily Mail says energy bills to fall £450 as cap is slashed. This is brilliant news for households, isn't it?
It's a very big figure. It will obviously be very welcome. I suspect the household in the country where this news will be most welcome will be probably 10 Downing Street, because it will remove a very big pebble in the government's shoe in terms of inflation and in terms of the crippling costs we've seen of energy, and that's both borne by households, particularly by small businesses as well, that have obviously seen energy costs skyrocket during a very difficult winter. So the sun is shining, and we're probably through the worst of the winter weather and all of that. So this news coming as it does, dovetailing with perhaps a bit more optimism in the economy and a bit more optimism out in the streets, will probably be translated as good news for the government. Now, if the quid pro quo with this being an international situation, that obviously energy prices driven particularly by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, if it's an international factor that sent them soaring, then it's also partly international factors that have seen them drop as well. So perhaps the credit for the government's action will be slightly limited. But as I say, I mean, Rishi Sunak will, I'm sure, chalk this one up as a good day and a good moment for him and the government.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say Rishi did say he would tackle inflation. He did say he'd bring down utility bills. So I know you were smiling through gritted teeth there, Kevin, when you said, well done. At least they've got some good news on that. But I want to come on to another point now, and that is we've been mentioning on the show so far, Labour Party are playing a bit dirty, attacking Rishi Sunak for his personal wealth. Doesn't seem to bother him. What's that about? Is that the politics of envy?
I mean, Rishi Sunak is a curiosity. He's by a country mile the richest Prime Minister that we've ever had in this country, and of course that corresponds with an unprecedented cost of living squeeze, which is affecting tens of millions of people, and we've of course got a pretty sluggish economy, and we've had very low wage growth for a very long time. So it's that juxtaposition that it's not necessarily the politics of envy, but it does play with a lot of people who say, despite appearances, he doesn't understand my life. And of course, what we're looking for in a prime minister, and we're obviously possibly 12 months away from a general election, is are you on my side? Is the big question. Do you understand my life, my world, my family, my community? And it's very difficult for somebody with extraordinary wealth to be able to convincingly do that. I think so. I think it's a very kind of effective seam to keep picking at. So Rishi Sunak saying today that it doesn't bother him, but I mean, what can he say really? I mean, I think it will be an issue. It will be a factor.
Kevin, do you think the Labour Party has an issue, a problem even, with successful people? Because Rishi Sunak's wealth comes from his wife's father's business, a very, very successful one. And the non-dom attack line has become one of the most used by the Labour Party towards Rishi Sunak. I mean, are they just attacking people for being wealthy at this point?
I don't think it's that at all. I think we've got to recognise that we've got huge economic disparities in this country, and when we're asking people to sort of to breathe deeply and take one for the country, whether that's on energy prices, cost of living, wage claims and all the rest of it, then you've got to kind of walk the talk all the way through society really, and we saw particularly through the kind of ill-starred Liz Truss 45 days as Prime Minister, the priority for the government was cutting taxes for the very, very wealthiest, and I mean the fact is that doesn't really play very well in a democracy where as I say, tens of millions of people are not part of that cohort. They're not super rich, they're not super wealthy, they've not got international savings and all the rest of it that they've got to pay tax on, and it's smart politics for Labour to address this, but this is an issue that is burning out in the country, and I think the opinion polls and all the evidence that we see, from the public supports that they want, they want a recalibration of the country and of society, and they want more fairness. And I don't think it's anything more than fairness. I don't think it's saying we don't want successful people or wealthy people. What we want is some basic fairness in society.
Kevin Meagher, thank you for your input this morning. It's worth pointing out that the Tories, as of yesterday, at 13 years and 10 days, are now in power longer than New Labour were, but perhaps we're going to see a change at the next general election. Kevin, thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thanks.
Let's bring you up to date with what else is going on today. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in Hiroshima, where he's expected to meet with G7 leaders. Tweeting, he said important meetings with partners and friends of Ukraine will take place this weekend and that peace will become closer today. It's after senior US officials endorsed a plan to train Ukrainian pilots to fly F-16 fighter jets and for European countries to provide them. It's a major military boost for Kyiv.
And the Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris has insisted that there's more than enough money in the Northern Ireland budget to provide all statutory services. It comes after several departments said they were facing shortfalls of hundreds of millions of pounds, with the Department of Infrastructure saying it may need to turn off streetlights.
More than 300 jars of honey were produced last year at Buckingham Palace, with some of it being served to garden party guests this year. Images released to mark World Bee Day show royal beekeepers tending to hives at Buckingham Palace and Clarence House. The Queen herself is a keen beekeeper, with honey made by her bees sold at Fortnum & Mason to keep money for charity.